I mean, I didn't even know it was all malted barley.
Yeah, that's the crazy thing.
Yeah.
It's 100%, I guess that's why it's a single malt, right?
Well, why can't this have a 95.5 malted barley blend like a rye does?
There you go.
Like this be the high barley.
High barley.
Hello, and welcome everyone to episode 79 of The Mashup, the best bourbon conversation you're going to hear all week long. Your hosts, Anthony and Steven. Hello, sir.
Hello, sir. How are you?
I'm doing awesome. You know why?
Why is that?
The cats are back.
The cats are back. Hey, guys, if you didn't know, Kentucky's a football school.
Hell yeah.
I know the cats have been enjoying some success lately. We could say that modestly. We don't need to gloat about it. But do you remember the controversy that arose prior to the season starting? It was the middle of the summer. The sport wasn't really going along. And ESPN was like, well, the sport is kind of lean right now. What can we do to drum up some controversy? Let's see if we can get Coach Stoops and Coach Calipari in a fight. Do you remember that?
I do, because it was during the Bahama exhibition games, and they played very well. Even though they weren't playing anyone big, we saw a lot of talent from some of the people we didn't expect talent from.
Exactly.
And then all of a sudden, boom, there's a controversy between the coaches.
The way I understand this, and I could be wrong, is that, as you said, Kentucky's playing their exhibition games down there in the Bahamas. They're having a great time. They're doing well and everything. And ESPN does cover that. You know, they do cover that for the big programs when they go and travel around and stuff like that. But I think it was like maybe a couple days into the travel where somebody brought up this quote of John Calipari at an SEC media day that was actually at the time, I guess, a couple months old, where they asked him about like facilities or something like that. I think it was about facilities.
Probably.
And he said something about, Kentucky being a basketball school, and he wasn't worried about any of that because we're a basketball school and blah, 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 blah. And then he went a step further and said something like, like Alabama's a football school and Georgia's a football school, but we're a basketball school. And, somehow or another, somebody dangled that in front of Coach Stoops, and Coach Stoops is like, I'm from Youngstown. He's like, aha, it's me. He's like, what's going on now? And he you can talk about how
he was chirping.
Yeah, he was not happy.
Yeah. Well, they also said something about, like Cal said something like 10 wins is cute or something like that, or something along those lines.
And I'm not sure if he actually said that. I think he said that it was nice. I think he said something like, yeah, they had 10 win seasons and it's nice. So, let's face it, Calipari's a guy that's what feeds his greatness, right? He has a lot of attitude. He's confident in who he is. He thinks, that, when he says things, they're not going to have reverberations. I mean, he's a Jersey guy, right?
Yeah.
So he's just kind of speaking from his heart and not knowing how it's going to affect, the fan base here, which let's just say that. I love Lexington. I love the University of Kentucky, but man, I wish we had like professional sports or something else going on so all these people aren't always like Monday morning quarterbacking every damn thing that's said. It's kind of hard to be a coach in this town when you got every person, like the person waiting in line in Starbucks, like, hey, coach, you did this wrong, and it's like,
that's got to be annoying.
Yeah, it's got to be really annoying. But so the media, that's my official storyline, that the media got Cal and Stoops in a fight. And now that they did, I think what's happened is it's elevated both programs. Basketball's got something to prove. Football's definitely got something to prove. And I'm liking the way it's playing out.
Yeah, football's bringing it.
They are. They're definitely bringing it. Yeah. So
last couple weeks have been fun.
Yeah, it's been really exciting. And I don't even know how, that's never happened. One thing I have to say is, with my history of education, I've actually been at the only football school I was ever at was at Penn State, and that was fun when I was there, but they may have played in one big bowl game in the 4 years that I was there. So it wasn't like the glory days of Penn State. Yeah. And then as soon as I left, the whole
fiasco started.
The whole fiasco started over there. We don't have to go through that. And then it was like, now Penn State's been fighting back ever since. And prior to that, I was at Kent State. And I don't really have to tell you anything about Kent State's football program other than that as bad as Kentucky's program was, Kent State's probably worse.
Yeah, I imagine.
Yeah. Kent State actually was a couple weeks back. They played Oklahoma, I think, I don't know if it was the first game of the season or the second game of the season, but I mean, they get paid a lot of money to go get stomped a mud hole by Oklahoma. I think they lost like 50 something to whatever.
Well, that's a lot of money.
Yeah, it's a lot of money to just go get your butt kicked by a big powerhouse school.
Yeah.
But they sign up for those kind of games. That's the glory of my alma mater.
Kentucky pays the same thing on the other end. So
I know they do. They pay for some schools to come in too.
Yeah.
But it's like it still makes me feel bad for my old Kent State.
So Anthony, we did not have any shout outs this week.
Another week and no shout outs. Like,
Come on, guys.
I'm legit upset now. Like, I really enjoy that. We want the feedback.
So anyone that has not subscribed, hit that subscribe button.
Yes,
and leave us a little review, and we'll give you a shout out next time we record.
absolutely.
So Anthony, I have a special bottle for you this evening.
Oh, how special is it?
It's a pick.
Okay.
This week we have a bottle of Balcones Texas Single Malt Whiskey Single Barrel.
Say what? Come on, man.
These are words I don't even know what they mean.
Oh, man. Single malt? Are we serious for here? I mean, that's crazy.
And they spell whiskey wrong.
Oh, they spell it without the E?
Right.
That's a la Maker's Mark, right?
Well, I guess if it's a single malt, they got to spell it that way.
That's true. They can get rid of the E.
Right, yeah.
So this Balcones Texas Single Malt Single Barrel Whiskey is distilled by Balcones Distilling in Waco, Texas. It comes at a bottle date of 2021. The ABV is 67.2%. Proof is 134.4. You go easy
Say
over there.
what? Is this Everclear?
It might be, but it doesn't look like it. So this is aged 57 months, just shy of 5 years. If you're keeping tabs at home, the mash bill is 100% malted barley, and this is sometimes Texas sourced barley, but they oftentimes use a golden Scottish type of barley. Of course, we can talk more about what we don't know there, but this is aged in European oak, and the MSRP was $85.
Wow, we are getting a lot of value per proof.
Absolutely.
Yes, with this bottle.
I mean, how in the
even
world?
with $85, that's a lot of value.
It is a lot of value. I mean, what was the last time what have we drank over 130 proof on this podcast? That can't be too many things. Yeah, I think we've drank stuff in the 120 range, but I don't know that have we ever exceeded 130? We might have to go back and look at that, do some research.
I don't think we have.
So
but yeah, 134, that is high.
That's crazy. So looking at this bottle, it actually, the thing I like the most about it is this embossed hammer on the front. I have no idea what that means, but it looks like a mallet. Is that a mallet?
I think it is.
Gallagher, the comedian, gonna hit things with your mallet. That's what it reminds me of. So that's cool.
Freshly squeezed watermelon.
Yeah.
Cantaloupe.
There you go.
Yeah.
Smash some fruit. So I actually like the way this bottle is fashioned. The shape of it is what?
Well, it's our standard Stag Junior.
Just keep going. I don't know what was the one we reviewed recently.
But it does have a little wax press on it.
So this actually says on the medallion, Balcones Distillery, and I think it's 2006 or 9. What is that? Can you see?
I think it's an 8.
It's an 8. See?
It's an 8.
So good thing I asked you, because I couldn't tell, but I think that little wax insignia is dating when the distillery was established. This is dubbed as the original Texas whiskey, and the thing I like most, besides the hammer, is the golden black accents on the label. That's pretty sexy.
It does look sharp.
Yeah. But then it also says that it was aged in New European oak, and they have a lot of other good information on here. But just so you know, it also says on here, this is never chill filtered or colored. I'm glad they mentioned that, because the color of this whiskey is...
it's Coke.
Yeah, it looks like as dark as Coca-Cola.
Yeah.
I mean, it's amazing how dark this stuff is.
I mean, it has like a clearish dark of a soda.
Yeah.
But with like a little reddish hue to it.
And some of the darkest stuff I've literally ever seen. I mean, it's pretty crazy. So in the grand scheme of things, as we're talking about this bottle, what do you really know about Balcones and their distilling efforts?
No, absolutely nothing.
Yeah, I didn't either before. I'll tell you in a little bit about how I came across this bottle, but this company, this distillery, prides themselves as being a founding member of the American Single Malt Whiskey Commission, They basically distill a variety of mash bills, various like mixtures of stuff, but most of it is this 100% malted barley. And they use barrels from Independent Stave that are toasted, that have been aged for, I think, 3 years, dry aged, like European, American, and French oak. They actually have a whole booklet about their process online. I tried to look at it beforehand, but as I mentioned previously, like when I see that many words, I get overwhelmed. And so I was reading, and I'm like, this is intriguing. That's intriguing. Then I got to the third page, and I was like, la, 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 la. But no, I mean, it was really cool. I mean, to summarize, they take a lot of pride in what they do.
It's 11 pages.
Yeah. It literally is 11 pages. They talk about like what the normal process is for a single malt whiskey, what makes an American single malt special, and of course, this category is something that you and I know very little about.
This is actually probably my first single malt.
Yeah. No, it definitely is for me too. And I keep hearing about it. Like I listen to other whiskey shows. I won't name any of them, because they're direct competitors to this podcast. But when they talk about American single malts, I'm always intrigued. And I'm like, what do they mean by that? Like, is that like a bourbon or is it like a scotch? And I think it's somewhere in between.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't even know it was all malted barley.
Yeah, that's the crazy thing. That it's 100%, I guess that's why it's a single malt, right?
Well, why can't this have a 95.5 malted barley blend like a rye does?
There you go.
Like this would be a high barley.
High barley. When MGP, if you're listening, when you guys can distill a high barley recipe, we think that might be a hit.
100% is not high enough. We need 95.5.
95.5 barley. Get it going. But no, this pot still in this case is actually a positive thing because they do some kind of special cooking process. That's in the booklet.
And in the index.
And in the index, you got to go in the back and see special pot still. Longest arms, I think it said in the industry.
Gosh.
Did you know that? Did you know there's long arms pot stills?
Guinness Book of World Record.
Yeah, that kind of stuff,
Well, you ready for our first notes?
Let's do it.
I mean, before we even get started, 67.2%, I'm scared.
Yeah, it's make sure that you keep your mouth slightly open before you nose this so we don't have to take you to the hospital.
Yeah. Proceed with caution.
That's right. Can we call this a hazmat single malt? No, I guess it has to be over 140 for hazmat. It's a really interesting. I'm getting a lot of cocoa notes.
Yeah, I mean, yes.
A little bit of cereal grains. When I say cereal grains, it's not something you hear us talk a lot about, but when you drink scotch, the one thing that sticks out to me, whether it's heavily peated or not, is what I get. And I don't drink scotch very much, so please bear with me here. I get muddled fruits a lot of the times, and I get like this grains that almost tastes like something rotted. When I drink scotch, anyway. Yeah. I'm not getting that from this. I'm getting much more of like a half scotch, half bourbon kind of a nose.
Yeah, there is a hint of peat.
Yes.
Yeah, and smoke.
Oh, yeah, definitely some smoke. Yeah. Good call.
But there's that chocolate is just almost overwhelming.
And I will say that I broke my own rule here for a second, and I kept my mouth closed when I inhaled this, and it definitely singes the crap out of your nose if you do that. But you got to let it go all the way through, and you keep your mouth open, then it's okay, and you get a lot of the pleasure. But it's very, you can tell there's a lot of alcohol on the nose.
It's actually pretty nice to smell. Once you pull away fast enough not to get inundated with the alcohol.
Yeah.
It's pretty nice, especially if you like chocolate.
No, I agree. And like what I said, like it's almost like, to me, it almost smells like cocoa powder, like, which is interesting. I think we smelled it on one or a couple of bourbons, but not usually a note you get out of bourbon. You definitely will get like a cereal grain and peatiness out of bourbon for sure.
No, it's like when you open one of those like special dark chocolate bars, the 80-85%.
Oh yeah.
And you got that kind of that bitter.
How do you pronounce that? Is it cacao?
The plant?
Yeah, when they talk about like it's like 85% cacao or whatever. Yeah. So, Steven, do you know how I acquired this bottle?
You went to the store?
I can't tell you what I want to say. I want to jump across the table and tackle you right out of the chair. Well, of course I went to a store. So I won't bore you guys because everybody knows that I
went on a treasure hunt?
Yes. I was actually... using my, what is that called? What people used to do, geocaching. They still do that?
Yeah.
People still geocache. Yeah, so I was involved in this really long geocache, and it ended at a liquor store. No, I'm just kidding. And so actually, when I was in South Carolina, in Bluffton, I've mentioned twice in previous episodes how I terrorized that area going to liquor stores.
You found the Paul Sutton there.
Yeah, I found the Paul Sutton there, and previously had found something else. I think I just talked about my experiences there. So this time, when I was down there this past summer, I walked over to Big Jim Liquors. Remember Big Jim?
Big Jim.
Big Jim. Big shout out to Big Jim. And so I went in there, and the normal guy that I talked to, I think it might be Jim. I really don't know. I guess I got a deficit for asking about details when I'm in there, even though I stand there and talk. But I think it was Harvey or Harry. I think it was Harry is his name. He was very nice, welcoming dude. And I just was, sitting over there staring at the shelves and everything else. And he comes over and he's like, can I help you with anything? And I was like, I'm actually this guy that came in here last year that talked about your store in a podcast. And he said, I remember that.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And he
so
was
same person or different person?
It was a different person, but I guess whenever we talked about the store, whoever the person was I talked to first probably told the other people that worked there, and they gave it a listen, which was really cool of them. So that was really nice of them. And so I said, I'm just looking for something different. And then we started talking about bourbon and stuff like that. And he was saying how he gets people in there all the time asking, same stories that they told me last year, just because it's the same stuff that's happening, right? People come in looking for the Blantons. Where's the Wellers? I went to Wellers, right?
Got any Pappy?
Got Pappies, right? So in talking to him, this is what compelled me to buy this. So I said, what do you got that's interesting? So he showed me this bottle, and he said, he gave me the story that during COVID, the master distiller at Balcones was like, I'm going to just start picking some really exceptional barrels and offering them to states for distribution. And so that's what we did with this one. So that's why South Carolina has it. So it was like $80, $85. I'm looking at like, am I really going to spend that much money on this bottle of American Single Malt when I never tried one? And so I said, what's your experience like? Do you taste a lot of bourbon and stuff like that? And he said, yeah, I like to taste different things. So we're talking about his tasting journey and his experience with bourbon and stuff. And then he told me something that was very crucial. He said, I got a chance to taste Pappy Van Winkle 23 one time. And I was like, oh, okay, tell me about that. And he goes, honestly, to tell you the truth, I didn't like it. He said, I thought it was over oaked. It was like licking wood. And I've often heard that comment.
That's what I've heard too.
Yeah, from people that have tasted Pappy for the first time at any level of drinking experience. And since we haven't, I was, hoping that I could get a good read on the guy. And so he says that. And then I said, what about this one? What did you taste when you tasted this? And he said, oh, I just tasted a lot of really nice, rich notes, like decadent notes. And then he didn't really know how to describe it. So here's what he said. He goes, it almost was like eating a sweet breakfast. And I was like, I'm not sure I take that as a tasting note, but I was like, something? He just told me he doesn't like Pappy 23, and he said he liked this, and it tasted like breakfast, a sweet breakfast. So I was like, I'm buying it. And so I bought it. So I guess, what would you think? Do you think I'm a sucker for doing that based on...
Well, I mean, if he was an older guy...
Yeah.
I mean, he's probably just taking it back to his Ovaltine days. Rich, chocolatey.
Rich and chocolatey Ovaltine.
For breakfast.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean,
maybe that's what it was.
That's what he's talking about.
Yeah, no, maybe he was. I don't know. I mean, I'm excited to taste it, but based on the fact that he had said that, it kind of sold me on the whiskey. Before I was kind of waffling, but after he told me a story, he actually, I will say that, good on him. He sold me the whiskey.
That's good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, let's see how he did.
All right. Oh, that's brute. It's got brute strength, but man, I know this is our first tasting experience with a single malt, but here's what I get. I get up front a very little taste of Scotch, which is some of the grains in the malted cereal grain type of stuff. Then it immediately cascades into various types of chocolate and mapley notes, but man, does it pack a punch.
I think I experienced very similar. Like on the front end, I had some of those, a familiar Scotch taste, but it went away to just this dark chocolate dessert drink.
Yeah, it's like crazy.
Yeah, and it's weird for such a high proof. You're thinking, oh, this is gonna be like heavy, intense to drink, which you can feel the proof, but it's very light on your tongue, and it kind of just like evaporates.
Yeah, it punches you like at the beginning and
Yeah.
mid palate, and then the finish is like a nice wispy, disappears.
It gives you a Texas hug.
Yeah. Well, oh yeah, Texas
But-
hug. There you go.
But it just kind of just goes away.
Yeah.
It's real weird. I'm getting coffee on the back end now.
Yeah, I get that. You know what it is? Well, I think it might be a little bit of bitterness. So I think maybe some of the layered chocolate
Yeah.
and coffee might be
Bitter.
roasted, like roasted coffee beans /
Cacao?
yeah, the dark chocolate.
Yeah.
That's exactly.
Yeah.
Man, that is
Now I'm getting espresso.
yeah. That's pretty freaking complex for something that I really didn't have any expectations for. Now we already told you guys the color of this is so dark, it's ridiculous. And for a almost 5-year-old product that has a super nice mouthfeel.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like oily. Even though it falls off, like you said, where it like hits you first, punches you, and then it's like an effervescent kind of chocolate
Yeah, it goes from like laying on
everywhere.
your tongue to being like in your mouth space. Mm-hmm. And you don't feel any weight of it.
That's different, and different in a not an entirely crazy way.
I see this as being more of almost a dessert drink. Yeah, I'm going to say you agree with me on that.
Yeah, no, I definitely think it is.
Like a port or like some sort of wine.
Yeah, I don't think that I could drink this all the time.
No, it's-
like you know how we talk about sometimes we have a pour of bourbon, and as soon as we get that first little whatever it is, ounce and a half, because that's really about what we pour. Sometimes less. Mm-hmm. Once
Tonight
that goes
was less.
yeah, and sometimes when it goes down, as soon as it's gone, you're like, man, I want to pour another one right away. Mm-hmm. And that's usually a sign of something that you really like, or something that you're just not quite certain of what it's going to taste like. This one, I think it's I would be hard pressed to go to a second pour because you just get so much with each sip of that pour.
This would be a fun bottle if you had like a collection of like after dinner bottles
Okay.
and you had people over and you grab like, 2, 3, 4 of them, put them on the table,
Yep.
and you just start tasting like after a good meal.
I like that.
Because you're not going to drink much of it,
Yep.
but it's something to, I think, experience with other people.
That's a really good point. And I especially think that because, as you know, the popularity of bourbon whiskey is so high right now that American single malt is a relatively newer category. And so if you bust that out on somebody and you're like, you got your other dessert type drinks or after dinner drinks, and that's the one that you want to focus on, I think it's going to make some people really surprised.
Yeah. I can still, though, pick out that barley.
Yeah.
It's there.
Yeah, and there's something to be said. I can just own this right now. I know I talked about my experience with Scotch, but I really, both of us don't have a ton of experience with it. And I just, there's certain ones.
I think I haven't had much. It's like I got something for like the first time to try Scotch.
Yeah.
And it just ended up being this like ultra peaty, smoky thing. And I couldn't even swallow it.
Oh,
it was that bad.
Trust me, I've had similar experiences. My brother likes to drink, I know it's a very big category, but Speyside scotches. And he has had some that I really respect and appreciate at his house, but he does more Scotch than bourbon. And, I've had some where, I get like a lot of orange or a lot of muddled fruit and some flavors that are really tasty. But man, those peated notes and things like, there are some scotches that I smell them and I'm like, oh God, that's vomit.
Yeah, like seriously, anyone listening that's a Scotch drinker,
Yeah.
like drop us a DM on Instagram.
Yes.
And like let us know some scotches to try that are not extraordinarily peaty and especially not smoky.
Yeah.
I do not like.
Wait, you don't like drinking scotch that tastes like liquid smoke?
No.
I mean, come on. There are some out there that are just absolutely bad. So that's a good point. Somebody tell us how to do that because we want to review a good scotch because I think this is as close as we've got to anything scotch related.
Yeah, like something that's a couple bottles that we can explore.
Yeah, and if we like this, we might like those, right?
Yeah, right.
So, Stephen.
Yes.
Would you pass, try, or buy on this bottle of Balcones Texas Single Malt Single Barrel Whiskey?
I'm going to surprise you.
Okay. I'm going to be very surprised because I don't know which way. I've been watching your expressions, trying to read what's really going on, and I cannot tell. So, this is a very defining moment.
I'm going to be a buy.
Whoa.
I'm going to be buy if I had a coupon.
Okay. As long as a catch. What do you want, $5.99 off? You want $10.99. You want $5.99. We got lower prices.
No, seriously, I think I'll be a buy.
Okay.
I think this is something that if you buy, you're going to have a long time.
Yes.
Because you're not going to drink it. And I think like the example that I said for like an after dinner drink, or just someone's over that likes scotch, you can like, here, try this. I think it's unique enough to have if you collect.
Yeah.
I don't think regular Joe Smo that has 4 bottles, this is worth picking up.
I got you. Yeah.
But I think it's intriguing enough to buy.
Yeah, and I'm going to say that I agree with your assessment that I'll go a little bit further with that quick comment that you made about the Joe Smo or the bourbon drinker. It's always difficult territory when you have somebody that might be listening to this thinking like, well, I want to expand my horizons. To tell you the truth, when I walked into that liquor store, I was not looking to buy an American single malt whiskey. Let's face it. That was the last thing on my mind. I was looking to try some kind of bourbon, find a bourbon I know about or something else. But when I bought that, trying it tonight, like I'm also solidly a buy because eventually, you know, bourbon drinkers, if you started heavy as a bourbon drinker and you want to go other places, American single malts on the ascendancy, well-aged rums, Armagnacs, all these different things are out there and they're available to you. And I definitely think that I couldn't recommend scotches to a bourbon drinker, but I could definitely recommend this and say I would buy it, like hands down. In fact, if for some reason this is a slow seller and it's still down there next year, which I doubt, I will buy more of it.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that it has 2 scotch things, you know, absent from it that I don't like, the peat and the smoke.
Yep.
And it's got a dessert aspect to it.
Yep.
It's got a super high proof. It's fairly easy to drink. And this is definitely a shareable bottle.
Yeah, 100%.
This is not something you're going to... If your daily drinker is a 67.2%, we should talk.
Oh, yeah, no doubt.
So I think just, you know, the $80 or $85 for this, it's kind of steep, but
yeah,
I mean, imagine you're going to have it for a while.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. And I will say this, aside from sharing this with you tonight, the only other folks I've ever shared this with are 2 people we'll call Caleb and Ken. And when I shared this with them, they're also bourbon drinkers. They both thought it was an excellent whiskey. And if they're primarily drinking bourbon, they drink, you know, they taste a lot of different product. They're kind of nerdy like we can get sometimes. They like to really taste and talk about notes and compare. For them to say that they liked it, and I think at the time we tried it, it was probably the second time I had it, is also, I think, a very telling thing. So while I don't think it will be for everybody, I think that it will impress a lot of people. And I know that we're talking about a pick that's specific to South Carolina, but I got to imagine they're bottling this product and others. I just probably don't even look at it because I'm not in the single malt category, you know?
Yeah.
So you could probably find other stuff that's really good too that I don't even know about and you don't even know about. I don't know if this is going to be something that could possibly turn you into an American single malt drinker. Do you think you're going to suddenly become an American single malt drinker?
I know you've mentioned this before, that the Woodford single malt is actually pretty good. And I look at that bottle on the shelf, and I've, based off of just your comments alone, I've looked at it thinking, should I pick it up to try it?
Yeah. That's a Blue Label one.
Yes. I could be persuaded to, you know, pick that up next time. And with that, thanks for listening to this week's edition. Please like and follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at The Mashup KY. Also, let us know your thoughts on this bottle in the comment section. Until next time, keep it neat.